Well, I'm back again doing another video for Cooking with Dad, and this is a video that is actually it's a recipe that my oldest daughter brought to me, and this is sort of her. For her. It's a little different than what I've done in the past because I'm using a different cooking device. I'm using we got her an induction cooker for her dorm. She's going off to college, and this is a recipe that she brought to the family. It's a really good one. It's one that she got off of Tick Tock, and we call it Tick Tock pasta. That's probably what we're going to call it. But there's a little twist in that instead of using like penne or rigatoni, we're using Cascatelli, which is this is really ridiculous. Okay, I listen to a lot of podcasts, all right? I get it. But there's a podcaster named Dan Pashman, and he has a podcast called The Sporkful, which I highly recommend for eaters, not foodies, as they say. And this is a pasta that he invented, a pasta shape that he invented called Cascatelli. It's a five podcast series called Mission Impossible. Highly recommend it. We're going to be using it tonight. So Tick Tock pasta on an induction cooktop using maybe smaller cooking vessels. So we'll see how it goes. All right, here we go. Here we go. So this is our cooktop. This is an induction cooker. It uses magnetic resonance. Luckily that didn't break. To cook on. And it doesn't actually transfer heat to the pot. It actually makes the pot, it convinces the pot to turn hot, basically is what happens. We're going to be using some feta, whole block of feta. I imagine you can use the crumbles, but I've heard that the full block is better. We're also using, of course, my trusty squeezed garlic. It's always handy to have. Maybe a few tomatoes that we got from the farmer's market. We got all these beautiful tomatoes that we got here. And maybe this watermelon later on, and then maybe supplement with some of these other little guys. Also going to use some basil and olive oil, and I've got the pasta. Oh, and the pasta. Let me show you the pasta. This is really cool. So this pasta called Cascatelli, and this Cascatelli pasta you can see here looks like a waterfall. See, it looks like a cascade, like a little waterfall coming over there. So that's the stuff we're going to use. I've got the water boiling on the stove conventionally just because of time, but ideally the whole concept is to redo this recipe so that it can be cooked sort of in one pot and not have to use the oven, which the recipe really calls for the oven. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're going to turn it on, and I think we're going to start on like a 3, and it's going to get this pot warm. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Maybe that's probably 2 or 3, maybe 2 tablespoons. Already washed these tomatoes, and I'm going to just put them in here whole. I don't want to use all of them. And then I'm going to also wash these guys too, and I'm going to use these guys too. And so we've probably got, what, about 3, I'd say probably 3 cups of tomatoes cooking and a little bit of olive oil, and that's it. I'm going to put a lid on. I'm going to let it cook. Now what we want these things to do is I want to cook them. I could do it by timer, but I'm not going to do it by timer. I'm going to do it by look. What I want them to do is I want them to get kind of soft and mushy, cook down a little bit in that olive oil. When it cooks a little bit further, I'll add some garlic, and then we'll add some of the feta cheese and tear up the basil at the end. It's a real simple dish. So we're going to cook this. I'll let you know how long when it's cooked. All right, let's check on these guys. Yeah, looking pretty good. Look, they're kind of starting to bust open a little bit. Ideally what we want to do is we want them to get sort of soft. I don't really want to scorch them or burn them, but I want them to get soft because essentially they're just all going to just dissolve into this beautiful tomato goodness and make like a really rustic sort of spaghetti sauce. Right now I'm adding probably 10 garlic cloves in here. Sounds like a lot. It's not that much because these things are going to cook too. It's going to roast in there, and it's actually going to get kind of sweet. It's not going to be like terribly strong, all up in your face kind of garlic. It's going to be nice and subtle, believe it or not. Okay, in the meantime, I am going to get our pasta started. I've already got the pasta was boiling, added the salt. Remember, salty as the sea, and I'm going to add this cascatelli to it. I want to add about like a handful per person. I'm cooking for 4 people, plus a little bit. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Granted, my hands are big, so your hands are small. That's 4 people, and then a little extra for, good measure. So I've got that going. This cooks for, I think, 16 minutes. I'm going to put it for 15 and then take a look at it, okay? So set my timer, 15, start. We'll come back and take a look. Meanwhile, let's look and see how this is going. Oh, yeah. See how those things are starting to fall apart? If you can smell it, that garlic is starting to smell kind of sweet. Starting to incorporate all of that nice olive oil. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put in my feta cheese. Literally, I'm just going to pop it right in there. And because we want this also to melt. And this is going to be our sauce for the noodles. All right. Okay, on our basil here. Let me see this. All right, on our basil here. What I've done is I've taken, let's take a look here, our little basil plant, and I've taken the largest leaves off of here, some of the larger leaves. See that? Left the smaller leaves. This thing's still growing. It's got roots started down here, and that way the smaller leaves will become larger, and I'll try to let it help last a little bit longer. So it's one way you can kind of keep a live basil plant, or one that you get from the market like this one, alive a little longer while you use it. So I'm just going to basically stack these guys up. This is a good way to cut basil, or really any herbs, especially a larger leaf herb, is you stack it like this, and then you kind of roll it, which will hold it together a little bit, and then you just go through and cut it into little strips like this. And then you can do it a few times the other direction. And there, see? You've got really small little pieces of basil. I'm going to add this to our stuff. Take a look. Oh yeah, baby. That is looking really, really good. If you could only smell it. This is such a simple little pasta dish to make. Seems like all I make are pasta dishes. I need to do some other stuff, but man, it's so good. All right, so put some basil in there. Those tomatoes are really looking great. It's looking like a sauce. It's gonna be a nice cheesy sauce, and my noodles are still cooking. I'll get back with you in a minute. Our cascatelli just beeped on us. I'm gonna taste it. See it? Remember, pasta always swells when you cook it. So, I lost it. Pasta always smells swells when you cook it. That is so hot right now. A noodle I can get, but not this. Let me try this. All right, out of shot. Sorry, but I'm gonna try this. Perfect amount of seasoning. Excellent. You know what, guys and girls, I think we're done. I think that's ready. Let's take a look at this. I think this is probably ready too. Where's my spoon? Where's my other spoon? Oh well, I'll use this. Oh, there it is. Duh. All right, that looks good. Oh, look, see how soft this cheese is now. I'm just going to stir this up real quick. Oh, that looks really good. I'll cut it off too. Off. All right. I'll tell you what, this little thing works really, really well. This induction cooktop. All of my tomatoes, there's still a bit of chunk in there, but they've given all that good flavor, and all that garlic is roasted down. I went ahead and cut some more basil to use just as a topper. and I'm going to put everything in here. So actually, just put it together. I've got my noodles and keep losing stuff. My pasta spoon is where? Hold on, folks. Let me find this. Duh, black spoon on a black stove. Easy to miss. So I could put this through a colander and rinse it off, and it would wash off all that sticky starch off from the water. But I'm not gonna, because I kind of want that sticky starch from the water, and I want some of the water too. So I'm just going to kind of roughly put it into this bowl to just to gather, and then when I incorporate the sauce into it, the recipe that we typically use, we do it in the oven, and of course she's not going to have an oven in her dorm room. I'm surprised they're going to let her have this induction cooktop, but the beauty of the induction cooktop is that it does not produce heat on its own. So if I don't have this pot here, if this pot isn't on here, it just turns itself off because it doesn't recognize the pot, which is really cool. And then if you leave it on for a certain amount of time, it'll just cut itself off after a certain amount of minutes. So these things are super safe and they work really, really well. So I'm not going to just make you watch me finish this whole thing up. I'll come back on when we're incorporating everything, okay? Okay, so got all of our pasta in there. You notice I'm still have my pasta water here. I'm still going to use it. I'm going to go ahead and incorporate all the tomatoes and feta cheese into this and stir it up. In fact, you know what? Let me get a little cup to incorporate it. These pots, let me show you this pot. This is a really cool pot. This pot, we got it because they all stack really easily. And what's interesting about this pot is once you unlock it, you can do that, and the whole handle just comes off like that. Now I can also use the lid, put it back on there, and then put it back on. You just click, boom, and the lid is rubberized. It's real rubbery here. See that? And I can put here, and I could literally strain the water off if I wanted to. They're really kind of cool, and they work well with the induction cooktop. You got to have stainless steel or iron or steel. You can't use copper or aluminum on an induction cooktop. All right, and put some water in this and we'll get going. Coffee cup. Today we have San Francisco. I'm not probably going to put a full cup. I put about half of that in there. And then we're just going to stir it up really good. It looks like it's kind of runny, but it's not. It's all going to be a sauce. And you see how well that sauce is already incorporated into those noodles. It just, it's almost hard to even call it a sauce. But man, if you could only smell this stuff, it smells so good. This is such an easy thing to make. And you can make a lot of it for not a lot of money. You could probably even use canned tomatoes if you want to instead of fresh tomatoes. Just wouldn't have to cook them as long. But there you have it. You have what I call Tick Tock podcast pasta. Made for your dorm. There you have it, guys. What you think? Hope you like it.